this is such a tired group. So I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Okay, now for my final summary statement about the Board of Governors meeting. There are two or three elements I want to emphasize. The first and the foremost is that there has been a almost universal sense of renewal, excitement, a true notion that the university, in fact, is in a major transition, and that transition is one that is exciting in terms not only of its growing dimensions of reaching out into the community, increasing the student body and budget 20%, but in changing the very character of the university. And Ron and Gustavo and all those who contributed to this new vision should be congratulated. And I think you have convinced the university audience, being the Board of Governors, being the last of the entire series, that this is both a serious effort and attainable. And for that, you deserve our thanks and our appreciation. And I suggest that even though there are only a handful of people here, we applaud you. The second general observation has to do with the Board of Governors meeting. And here I have some comments which I would like to partition. We took seriously the comments made and solicited following last year's board meeting. We tried to incorporate them. We failed in making the meeting shorter. And I would say that there seems to be a general consensus that the meeting was too long. That being the case, I don't know what we're going to do. We will put our heads together. There was a meeting of the Executive Committee of the Board of Governors in London in January when the program was put into final form. And we did our best, but I think we need to do it again. And we need to reconsider how to make the board meeting more exciting. And the parameter that we've been using, and I've come to the decision, or at least the conclusion, that we're using the wrong parameter. The parameter we normally use is how many board members come to the Board of Governors meeting. By that criteria, we do very poorly. There's very little that one can argue against the numbers, and the numbers are quite small. But I have decided that there is a rationale for understanding the Board of Governors meeting in a different way. The Board of Governors meeting is really a meeting of the university. It is the university which comes together once a year to celebrate the achievement, award merits, recognize individuals not only in the honorary degree conferment, but in many, many other respects. For instance, the session we just had in honor of President Raffaelli. And as a vehicle for the university to come together as a unit and to bring the administration, the students, the faculty, and of course the Board of Governors into one room with various refractions of various activities, I think we see the university in its multiplex complexity. And it serves a very useful purpose, I think. And so while we will continue to try to attract the Board of Governors to our meeting, but just going through this list and we count the number of people who actually come, I've decided that we're going to use a different metric. And the metric, again, is how successful the university-wide convocation is achieved. And from my perspective, this year has been very successful in regards to the point that I made first. That's not to say that we're not going to continue to try to make the meeting more dynamic and more interesting, but framing it in the way that I just have, I'm more comfortable with where we are. Now, maybe that's because I'm completing my 4th year as chairman, and I'm rationalizing and putting this all together so it appears as favorably as possible. And I'm certainly subject to my personal bias, but that's the world I live in. We all refract reality in our own particular way, and so there it is. I think that's all I wanted to say, except that I am particularly, on a personal note, let me end on that. I think that there were many highlights of the meeting for me, renewing friendships and enjoying the various activities. But the highlight for me was going with a group of students yesterday to visit the science laboratories. And we broke off and continued the tour. I would do the entire day as I spent yesterday, going from one laboratory to another, meeting old friends and colleagues, but really getting in touch with what is the nitty-gritty of the research community which is developing here, and trying to get a sense of the dynamics which are at play. And for me, there's no substitute for actually going into the laboratory, talking to the scientists, talking to the postdocs, the graduate students, first-degree students, all of them, and getting a real sense as to what's going on. And the laboratory is a second home for me, so, you know, I sort of can smell it. And what I smelled was roses. There is great enthusiasm. There is extraordinary creativity, imaginative research being done here. And Elke Neer is doing a terrific job in terms of commercializing that research, and Gustavo's doing a great job recruiting new scientific talent, et cetera, but there's no substitute for actually talking with the students and finding out precisely what they're doing and how they feel about doing it. And the word which captures it is passion. There is a real passion there. And I suspect that really is the lifeblood of the university. And as a hematologist, I can tell you that the blood is very robust. All right, are there other comments or questions directed to me or to the board in general? Okay, so I'd like to have a motion to adjourn. Muley, second. Ron, all those in favor? You're too tired to even raise your hand. The 45th meeting of the Board of Governors is hereby adjourned. Thank you very much.
Professor Tarbell, thank you. Thank you everyone who took part in this meeting. Buses to hotel will be leaving outside. Goodbye, Serve Jenny home.